everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carolyn Talks Television. I'm Carolyn Topol, and this is my razzle-dazzle, amazing co-host.
I feel like that needs spirit fingers.
Yeah, Rachel Arnett. Go for it.
Rachel. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. Now, today, we have a very interesting topic that we've been chatting about ourselves off screen, and we said, you know what, this is a great thing to include everybody in. And it's, why are you watching this? And why are you watching that? Like, what's the point? And, you know,
We're
when
having
people
a bit
are...
of an existential crisis in
Right.
life. So why?
Well, and it's a little nostalgia thing, too,
Yeah.
I think, in some ways. Because I go back and I think about, you know, in 2025, which I still can't believe I'm saying out loud, is kind of cool.
Yeah.
In 2025, I'm sitting here thinking, network TV, what do I still watch on it? Mm-hmm. And I did find a few things which made me happy, but is it really worth my time anymore when there's such a cadre of stuff out there outside of network TV?
Really an unending amount of content.
It is unending.
When I had my knee surgery and I was sitting at home for 6 weeks, I really did not hurt for things to watch. Eventually it got to a point where, okay, I wasn't interested in everything anymore, but if I had wanted to keep going, I could have kept going really for eternity, it feels like.
I think you could have. You could have. And while I don't, love aging myself, when I was a tiny little girl, and I mean really little, I can still remember when there was, 3 networks, and when they were done, you would watch the flag pop up, and there would be some sort of song at the end. I don't remember if it was America the Beautiful or whatever it was, and you would end your day, and then there would be a test pattern all night long. And that was it.
Today's children would have no idea what to do with that.
And it would turn on again at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, is when TV would start again.
And now you can get your news 24/7, never mind programming. I mean, you could, if you wanted, watch 24 straight hours of ridiculousness on MTV. I don't recommend that, but you could. Just one show.
Now, this is an in my opinion moment. That's fried brain syndrome, in my opinion.
I think maybe that show itself is indicative of fried brain syndrome.
Fair enough. But I thought, okay, so let's start with network TV. What would I think about network TV why would I watch it still? And the first thing that popped right in my head was the news.
Yeah.
Because while I know, like you said, there's news 24/7, you got CNN, you got this one, you got that one, you got this one.
For local news, especially for me.
Local news, I want to watch my local news channel of choice. Whichever one makes you happy, whichever anchors make you happy. And we all have preferences for different reasons. I found my morning is not necessarily the same as my evening news choices.
That's very true.
And part of it has to do with the anchors, which ones seem less challenged to mispronounce words. Oh. I found there is a lot of creative pronunciation out there.
Everyone's so creative.
Yes, very creative. Only not when I want to hear the names of certain government officials,
Fair enough, yeah.
other countries, or their capitals. It's very amusing when and I sit there and say, do I call the network and say, can you give the person some pronunciation, because clearly they have not read a book or a newspaper or just listened to everybody else's news.
Yeah.
But still, you're right. Local news is so critical, in my personal opinion. I even like the local news because I can get a trend for the weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Weather Channel exists, and it does, every 10 minutes it does the locals. But there's something about, for me, a local broadcaster who's really focused specifically in checking the weather for your area.
Because they live there.
They live there. They
live there.
Sometimes tell you street by street in the way that they zoom in. And it's cool with the new topographical maps and things like that.
I think it's great. Absolutely. And even the national news. And maybe for me it's like I said, I am a little older. It harkens back to I was weaned on Walter Cronkite.
Well, and I think there's something to be said for like a national news show that picks like the top 10 stories of the day. When you're limited to that 45 minutes or that 1 hour, I find that there's less of the noise news, what I call noise news, where it's stuff that I don't really need to know, but they're just filling in the blanks because they've got to hit their 24-hour mark.
And the other thing that I was thinking in the same way, noise news, I prefer them giving me, if it's a news network I trust, and I won't watch somebody I don't feel comfortable with, but if it's a network I trust, when I turn on the national news, I don't want them perseverating on one story. And because of the nature of the structure of the 26 minutes they've got, and even take out a few more minutes probably in the middle, I'm going to get what I need to know. And if I need to know more, yes, then I can go to any number of 24/7s, or
they'll give you the important bullet points.
Or I could look at my newspaper online.
Yeah. I think also network TV wise, you're still going to find most game shows are on network TV. There are some that are on streaming channels, but I think there still tend to be, especially the big ones. Like I know you watch Jeopardy. My dad watches Wheel of Fortune and loves it. My family watches Family Feud. And even though you can find them after streaming online, a lot of the time, the like immediacy of following along with it really, I think, is still network TV. I
agree. And also, if you talk about daytime, which that's considered daytime programming, even though they're in the evenings, many of them, there's still soap operas. And I was blown away a couple of weeks ago. CBS and ABC are the only two that have network soap operas. ABC has General Hospital and has had it for umpteen years. And then...
people who are children on the show are now parents and grandparents.
Grandparents, but even more so is CBS had Young and the Restless, followed by Bold and the Beautiful. And 2 weeks ago, they added a new soap opera to that daytime lineup called Beyond the Gates.
I was seeing a lot about it. I have not checked it out yet. Although, if I'm going to start watching a soap opera, I feel like now is a great time because it's literally the beginning.
Now, I will say, while the soap has outstanding actors on it, no question about it, wonderful, wonderful soap opera actors, wonderful actors. Take out the word soap opera. What I will say, just in a nutshell, because this is not really our topic, is it's the stories, I've seen them all before.
Yeah. I mean, for I will say, as someone who doesn't watch a lot of soap operas, even I could, like, with some of the older ones, I can go, oh, twin sister, no problem.
Right.
Oh, they're in a coma, but that's fine.
And
they'll be back.
The nature of this one is the starring cast is primarily, not 100%, but primarily a black cast.
Which is very new for
and that was new for a daytime soap. And it includes mixed race couples, and it also includes a gay couple who have been married for over 15 years or something like that. So it's trying to be very modern in family structure.
Which is great, because I mean, I've seen, I'll say from like Tyler Perry has done a lot of things that I would call soap TV that weren't soap operas, where it was the same kind of structure of a soap opera with a multicultural cast, a mostly black cast, but it wasn't ever daytime prime time. It was a lot of like on UPN or on an off channel. But Tyler Perry especially has done a lot to kind of push this increase in multiculturalism and family structures.
And this is why I thought I gave that a try. I'm finding it somewhat repetitive because for me, it's not jarring to see different types of families, but what I'm seeing is the same stories.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, it's nice when I catch one or two primetime TV shows on a network TV station. Interestingly, in this case, both are CBS. One you started me on.
Matlock.
Matlock.
Can't get enough of it. I rewatch episodes because I know I miss something.
And then the other one for me is Tracker.
I like Tracker. I do tend to watch it after on the streaming platform, but I know it's a network TV show.
Okay, then.
Same with Equalizer for me.
So now let's move on a little bit and let's check out what we think about why so many streaming channels and what's so great about them at this point. I mean, right now you said they entertained you while you were incapacitated. My guess is that was not the point of getting them started, though.
No. Well, I think where Netflix and Hulu and all of these other streaming channels that exist only on streaming networks came from, for me, a lot of times was artists, whether it's the directors, the writers, producers, putting out things that previously maybe could only be on premium networks, but now at a subscription place. So Netflix, for me, when I think of some of the shows I watch on there and some of the shows on Hulu, they could not be on network TV. They just couldn't be.
No, and that's one of the things I like about streaming channels is the censorship piece
it's greatly decreased.
Is significantly lower. Unless you're in a streaming channel that part of their mission statement, I'm using that term as my best related knowledge, might be you're only going to get clean cut.
Absolutely,
sweet. Like if you do Hallmark Plus, that's a streaming channel. You're not going to see a cadre of curses, and if they repeat something that had some sort of allusion to something like that, it would be edited out. Although they mostly, on Hallmark Plus, create Hallmark Plus original shows.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing about it is they will then repeat their regular network shows, the regular Hallmark shows, ad infinitum on their Hallmark Plus.
Yeah.
It has a place to live other than on demand.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's really cool about the streaming platforms for me is it's this massive archive of shows that they have created with their original content.
Yes.
Netflix and Hulu especially, if they put them all on cassette tapes, or not cassette, the old VHS tapes or DVDs, it would be like a Belle from the Beauty and the Beast library, where it's just acres of content. And it's really fun for me sometimes, like on Hulu, for example.
Right.
I love Abbott Elementary, which is an ABC show.
Right.
But because it's free and it's available at all times and I don't have to wait to DVR it, I've been rewatching the entire series leading up to the finishing this season. So I've been able to kind of go back, because I got to a point where I almost didn't remember some of the pieces that happened.
Right.
And to be able to go back and revisit, especially a lighthearted comedy like that, it just, again, it like reconnected me to it. I mean, it's great for the actors and writers because they get more residuals.
And the other thing about archiving in that way is on demand is limited.
Yeah.
It will only save a show for a certain period of time, especially if the show does have an associated affiliation with a streaming channel like a Hulu.
Yep.
ABC has Hulu. Frequently, you're almost going to see either ABC will say airing 8 p.m. tonight and tomorrow on Hulu.
Yep.
And NBC will say airing 8 p.m. tonight and tomorrow you'll see it on Peacock.
Yeah. Well, I think for a lot of people, the streaming networks are still less expensive than purchasing like the cable package that allows you to keep everything on demand. Because you can access your basic cable networks, which include CBS, ABC, Fox, NBC, without having the on-demand piece. But if you get Hulu or if you go to CBS.com or Paramount Plus, you're able to see all of it. And
yes,
I think for a lot of people, it's still less expensive than getting the package, which includes these 75 channels, 3 of which you're interested in.
It's very true. And It's the continuing question. Do you do your cable company or do you do DirecTV? And you literally have to investigate that. It's almost a science experiment and science project of comparison and statistics.
Yeah, I definitely have friends that over the last few years have gotten rid of their cable package and they just keep internet, phone, and then use the streaming channels.
And
that works for them.
And it's a great option because it's got it all. You still get everything you need. Now, we could also say the thing about the streaming channels is they are really creating some nice original programming and also absorbing original programming. I mean, I used to watch, because as you've all heard in the past, I love the cooking shows. Mm-hmm. I love getting to see the Great British Baking Show on Netflix. Yeah. And they have basically the most up-to-date seasons on there. And the nicest part is they send me an email that says, by the way, guess what's coming? We've seen you like to watch this because the info's out there. You turn it on and they know you did.
I mean, that's another huge benefit of the streaming channels, though, is they have these built-in technologies that will say, okay, rate these shows. Based on how you've rated these shows, we recommend these shows. And most of the time, for me, they're accurate. Every once in a while, there's something where maybe I watch this thematically, and it's got a similar theme, but I don't appreciate the format as much, and things like that. But I've gotten some amazing suggestions from Great British Bake Off. My kiddo and I got the suggestion of Nailed It, which is almost like a comedy baking show where they take people who are not great bakers.
Yes,
and they give them this beautiful cake to reproduce, and it's not often great, but they try, and the hosting is very funny, and it's still very heartwarming to see people like try their best. And from that we got Is It Cake, which is probably Zach's favorite show of all time. And it's just people who are making these extremely realistic cakes and judges trying to figure out which one is the real snake figurine and which is cake. And it is shockingly difficult a lot of the time.
I actually watched that a few times.
I love that show.
I was sort of surprised at the creativity and artistry of some of these people.
And just, it's cool because it even has science lessons. Like they'll talk about why you have to keep sugar at a certain temperature and why you can't mix this color and this color, which in paint works very well. But with the different compounds of the sugar, it would actually turn purple instead of green. It's fascinating.
And then I continue on and you think about channels like Disney Plus.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Disney on your TV. You've got Disney Junior on your TV. It comes with cable if you have cable. It comes with a lot of DirecTV if you do DirecTV. Yeah. It's just part of many packages, those Disney channels. But then if you really want Disney, and every avenue of it, which I bet a lot of people don't realize, if you go to Disney Plus, one of my favorite components of Disney Plus is National Geographic is on Disney Plus.
Oh, there's so many good documentaries.
There's that. And then they'll do things where they go into the animal kingdom at Disney World with the vets, and they will focus on 3 animals per episode. And I've seen an okapi, an okapi give birth.
They're the stripy legs.
Yes.
So cool.
I have actually, which is very rare, by the way.
That's so cool.
I've seen an okapi give birth live on TV. And I thought,
could never see it.
You would never see this on network TV, and they would never spend the time to wait for it to happen.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think draws me a lot of times to the streaming networks is not only the breadth of content from within the US, but you can get the British programming, Canadian programming. I've watched a lot of Korean TV shows and Chinese TV shows, and I don't have to purchase separate apps to do that. There are even streaming networks available for those who really enjoy watching anime. And so you can find specific genres or specific countries, and a lot of it's just built into the Netflix and the Hulu. So there's just so much more that you can experience.
And of course, if you do things like a Netflix, you're going to get a movie that's been in a theater. they do also make movies. So don't forget about that. I mean, I saw Oppenheimer on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it was not that long after it was in a theater.
Yeah.
I just missed the target date, and then there was nothing around.
I think Zach and I have seen Sonic 1, 2, and 3. Now, we did see them in theaters, but we also saw them on 3 different streaming networks.
Oh, my goodness.
Like right now, Netflix has Sonic 2, but Paramount Plus has Sonic 3.
And then you move on to premium channels.
Yep.
Because don't mix that up, folks. When you do HBO, Max.
Yeah, they have apps, but it is from HBO.
Showtime. MGM has its own thing now. Turner Classic Movies. When you get these more premium level channels, where even in the cable, you got to pay more to elevate to some of the levels that include these, Stars, Cinemax, all these things. You get much more than you used to get there.
Yeah. I, for example, on Max right now, have been watching The Pit with Noah Wyle, and it is probably, for me, one of the best medical shows I've ever seen. And I'm not always a huge medical procedural person. There are a lot that I've skipped.
Right.
But what's cool about this one for me is it follows a team of ER doctors, nurses, care techs, and pretty much everyone who works in the ER, including custodial staff. And every episode of the show is an hour in the ER. So you're following the patients sometimes hour to hour, and then this one's discharged and a new one comes in. And the reviews of it from medical staff said it's been one of the most realistic portrayals they've seen. I think part of it is that structure, that it's not one episode and then the next episode takes place 3 months later. So you're really seeing what the life of someone who works in the ER can be like.
And then on the flip side, you're getting really good movies in a timely way.
Yeah.
When HBO and Showtime, which were the first two basically, started, you would get a movie that had been in the theater about 6 months after it was in the theater.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it by then, wow, where have you been?
Yep.
Or it's about friggin' time. And no wonder they're going to let you see it, because in 2 more months it's going to be on a network.
Yeah. And before that, it was Blockbuster.
That's right, exactly. And it goes to Blockbuster first, right? But when you see things now, it's a different story. You're getting these wonderful films, like we just had the Oscars last week. All of a sudden I turned on the TV Monday and all these Oscar movies that had been nominated in various categories were there.
Which is great, because I definitely don't always get out to the theater.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know there. But I know that it's important to give us time to see everything and appreciate the different genres. And once again, why TV in general?
So TV for me, it's interesting. When I was younger, and then as I got older, and then having Zach, it's meant different things at different points, and it's kind of served different functions. For me right now, a lot of the time with Zach, it's exposing him to different educational things that I don't have the background to share with him. Like, we love watching old episodes of Mythbusters and talking about the science behind things. We love watching the documentaries that are on National Geographic with updated information about animals, because what we thought was the case is very often no longer thought to be the case.
Okay.
And I think there's also just the piece of escapism. When I need to step out of my own life for a minute, I love watching The Pit. I love watching Matlock. I love watching The Challenge, RuPaul's Drag Race, whatever it may be.
And for me, TV in general is all of those wonderful things that you have just said. And on top of that, it's company. As a retired person, I have an active life. I do a lot of volunteer work, but I'm also at home. Much more than I ever was in the past. And the familiar voice in the background has that comforting, you're not alone in your house feel.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes even at work, I'll turn it on as background noise. If I'm working on something that's a paperwork task, if it's a show, I'll put Abbott Elementary on in the background just to help me with my ADHD, because that way I've got some information coming in I can ignore, and it allows me, for whatever reason, to really focus my energy on the task at hand.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I would say is, why watch TV? All of those reasons.
Yeah, why not?
All of those reasons.
Why watch TV? Why not?
And if you can watch with a friend, and you and I have watched things together, including the Super Bowl, hello. That's a big why watch. No answer necessary. I think you all know that one. But we love hearing from you too. So if you want to share with us anything, give us a little email, text, comment when this is posted on YouTube. Let us know what you're watching, why you watch it, and even where you're watching it. Is it on Netflix? Is it on ABC, NBC, or CBS, or Fox?
Do you save it and then watch it later? Do you have to watch it right away?
Right. Is this a DVR piece?
Because even though I do not watch The White Lotus when it is on, I have to watch it the next day. That is a must for me. And a big part of that is to avoid spoilers. But the other part is I'm just so intrigued by this show. I love it so much.
And it also is one of those many, and we'll talk about this at some point, that's got a theme music that's
that's a good topic.
And unmistakable, because
it changed this season and people were very upset. People were very upset when their theme music changed.
Well, they went to Thailand though, didn't they?
I know, it makes more sense.
It makes more sense.
I know.
I think.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're watching, where you're watching it, and why you're choosing it. We'd love to hear from you. So on behalf of amazing Rachel, Razzle Dazzle, and myself, Carolyn, we would love to see you again next time. And thank you for watching Carolyn Talks Television.